welcome to this special roundtable discussion on the impact of AI on B2B marketing in 2026. I'm Matt Egan, Chief Content Officer at Demand AI. I'm joined once again by my colleague and friend, our Chief Operating Officer, Bhavesh Thakor. Early this year in India, we sat down with a group of senior marketers to discuss how AI is beginning to reshape modern B2B marketing. At the time, many organizations were still experimenting, testing tools, piloting products, figuring out where AI could genuinely add value. 5 months later, I think it's fair to say things are moving really fast. So my impression, find out, is that for most marketers today, AI is no longer a side project or innovation stream. It's putting embedded into everyday marketing practice. From content creation and campaign execution to analytics, personalisation, research, customer engagement, workflow automation, even some strategic planning.
The conversation shifted from should you use AI to how do you use it, how do you use it responsibly, effectively.
I don't measure that. So today, here in a very sunny Singapore, we want to go a little deeper. Rather than talking about AI on board structure, folks, actually, when you answer this, what marketers are using day to day, what problems AI is genuinely solving, where the guardrails and risks are emerging, and what formulates the future points. We are so fortunate that we're joined by an outstanding panel of marketing leaders with deep expertise across technology, enterprise marketing, AI, and digital transformation. So I'll start by introducing our panel. We're delighted to have Arun Sahal, co-founder and chief implementation sponsor of Influence. Welcome. We have Junie Lee, who's marketing director of 8x8. Welcome to you too. And then last but not least, we have Sandesh Chanel, who's client services director, Dentsu B2B Singapore. So welcome to our panel. And we're going to start by just levels. Right. So when we were speaking earlier this year, we talked about how 25 was the year of experimentation, 26 was the year of operational marketing. That prediction has been reality, given what I think even be expected. So I'm going to start with quite a broad question, just to get this sort of overall thoughts. But what has changed most in the past 6 months in terms of how the organisation or what you see in the wider market is using AI in their day-to-day lives? What's really now that was made theory earlier? Let's just go around. So we'll start with you, like what you see.
Yeah, I think when we met last time as well, in the topic that we were talking about was code generate type of AI of marketing. I think it's moved on from there as you mentioned, and I think now we're talking more about how we use the tools, where are we using it, what are the guardrails, things like that. So I think it's moved very, very faster than what we expected. I think that's been the experience we use for clients as well, most of the agencies as well, and I think that's what we'll talk more about.
But let's find out.
Honestly, it feels like being hit with a bullet train. I think it's so ubiquitous, just as the internet was a few months back. And I think it's become fused with our lives, professionally and personally. Yeah, like you're searching for a recipe or planning the trip or formulating that B2B marketing campaign. Everything is happening all at once, And I think what amazes me is the speed and also the scale of adoption. Right? And I think from a marketing perspective specifically, it's not just about the content. It's about automating workflows. It's about the research. It is about the personalization. So it's multi-dimensional. And I think that is something which is really significant to note.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Last year, we used to say that probably the year time we should release that. Suddenly, conversation changed to the quarterly something. Now, you're talking about one thing, the next month, 1 week. Yeah, with the AI. So, yes, I totally agree. It's so fast, and there is way faster than what we even expect.
Yeah. It's good to know that we're on the right track. Unless Sandesh going to tell us something really different.
No, I think it's pretty much the same. I think if you look 6 months back, it was primarily used as doing bit of research, experimentation, using like emails. But I think it is becoming more like an outputting layer within the marketing system. So it is changing, it is evolving, and you don't even know like what will happen in the next 3 months. So it's quite interesting space.
So let's dig into some of that stuff. I'll stay with you if that's okay. We've all talked about generally there about the pace of change. How it's I really mentioned how it's kind of baked into our flesh vibes. But what I've noticed is that when I talk about how it's just got a little more, it's kind of tools or integrate into the professional and daily lives to it. So let's make this practical. What tools or platforms do you see that you teams use? What's necessary? AI in Singapore experience. You can make it exclusive for the day-to-day perspective what AI tools you're seeing.
Yeah, I think pretty much. I think your chat GPT is your Claude and
Yeah,
the one is very commonly used now by the teams to put improve and speed up the process. But I think with the especially in the B2B side, I think the likes of a lot of content platforms are actually implementing the PR with the platforms which are helping us in understanding the audience.
Yeah.
So understanding the data, how quickly we can and how quickly we can go on in the market. Like Dentsu side, we are heavily investing in kind of trying to scale the AI products as well. Not just from the perspective of the video planning, but also from a data solution point of view. Because ultimately everything will come down to how you try to get ROI because we're having so much of data that is available now. Say as we are investing in media platforms in the creator platforms so that we can scale it, go quicker to the markets and again to the value.
So everything from like, the creation and the tactical side of things, like right up to a pretty good use case actually, sort of like media there, because there'll be good reams of data and real time AI. So that's really interesting. Anyone else that across on it, their June.
So last year was evaluating to just the GPT model that we are using, and there's no such governance process. What data we can actually unload and bring those processes now is already by default our CRM is connected, our worksheet was connected, all the data is already connected. Means technically, my team they don't even ask, am I able to download this or not? Everything is already possible. It's already there even. So that's the huge change because of that, you can really use the AI tool in the real world instead of going through collecting data.
In fact, I met you last year, and I remember you were one of the early adopters of AI, especially market function. And I remember how much you were actually, talking about it, that how you have access, really empower your team to your skills and things like that. Do you think that early adoption is help, especially now that you are majority stakeholder for your
So we just talked about the speed of the adoption. So even we probably started 1 to 6 months earlier, but since it's so fast, the 1 to 6 months, 1 year to 6 months early adoption doesn't much matter. That's why even the organization start 3 months ago, it's not much different.
We founded an agency, right? So like, I guess there's a certain level of like benchmark that they how you use the AI to sort of get the lists.
I think I would like to make a point about the ease with which we could build, right? Apart from the clouds and ChatGPTs in the world, if you envision something, a work process, you don't need to have a software degree to build it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we are finding as a very lean team, that we are using. I think AI has been really a blessing in terms of compressing the work. I think in terms of the thinking power, in terms of brainstorming, I have a team of people. Let's see one element. So that's number one. It is, and for a lean team like ours, and when our forte is creating campaigns which are distinct, it's a great way to test your idea. So that's number one. Number two, we see our clients are asking us that what are the kind of automated workflows do you have? Okay, so it's making us think that, if you're following a certain procedure, there is a better way to do it and scale.
Yeah.
So as a new agency on the block, we find the gains are really immense.
Yeah.
And if you can automate some of those workflows and scale our business.
Yeah, but lots of things resonate there with us with what they have spent actually. We have extremely talented, quite but We moved from like development taking months to like to this sort of joke about a lunch break. Like, you know, we've got an idea, we can do it. If we've got an idea that we think is going to solve the problems of these answers, we can have this that's over the course of the day. But then also my own content marketing practice, like where we passed it like typically several days to research idea for it. And now again, that's I'm still being disruptive, I'm still thinking about what the ideas are subjectives. But I it's a big and then say actually I want to talk about content because that's all I ever want to talk about. I have to talk about everything else as well. But you know, the buyer journey is totally different. Like, buyers are more self-directed. They're using answer engines, search users, and systems. They're doing their own research way before they speak to themselves. We all know this. At the same time, we as marketers can use AI to create and adapt content at a scale which wasn't possible before. So I'd love to explore the relationship between AI-generated insight content creation, like talk about hyper-personalized buyer experiences. How you in your content practice thinking differently now versus like a year ago. Because I know I was very different way to what I was 6 months.
Yeah. I like to use an analogy. I don't know if you heard of this fairy tale, the elves and the shoemaker.
I probably
So the
say the elves and shoemakers can figure it out. I'm sure they will.
So the shoemaker would lay out the leather and the tools, and the elves would come and create the perfect pair of shoes. Now, if you take that analogy to AI, what matters not that the elves are creating the product, but the craft that the shoemaker has. If he doesn't have the right leather, the right tools, the elves are really not kind of creating that perfect pair of shoes. So I like to think of content in that aspect, that what you put in, and I think that's where your judgment and your discernment, human thinking is not optional there. So the whole like a blind sweep, just let AI do its thing. That's something that I really kind of draw a line, because the input determines the output, right? And at a time where content is everywhere, what really matters is the distinctiveness, right?
Yeah.
And what we are noticing across all social media platforms and any kind of marketing platforms, it's synthetic coherence. It's beginning to sound the same, right? So I think that's where your thinking really steps in. And as a marketer, when I'm working on client briefs, it's human first thinking. That is not a choice.
Yeah, I think AI is a brilliant means of scaling human insight.
Yes.
But it doesn't place.
And when it comes, because content is where I have kind of, grown myself as a communicator and as a marketer. Content is sacred to me. Content cannot be manufactured. Content cannot be commoditized, right? And yes, the lure of AI to make it look abundant and perfect is real, but I think again, human in the loop is really important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like if you want to just hit take out a volume thing, you can do it. But if you want to actually engage with it, then it doesn't accept that. So I would also say that part perspective, using our platform to the scenes, users' perspective, they're able to interrogate something, get to insights that they've got a different way, which is a whole new world to explore.
It's a conversion of market, how people consume market. That's what's
I think I would actually like to add another point is, how can you stand behind the content? Are you able to defend it?
Mm-hmm.
If you have produced it, then you should know how to defend it. But I think we are seeing cases where the content exists, but there's no point of view. There is no kind of there's no backing it. And for me, that was.
What about you, fellas? As marketers again. And what was Julie was specifically I was wondering about the ability to take those files version.
Let me start with the content creation. I'm working on the website, and then we still hire content agency. It's not because of we don't have a capability to create content. Our team capability, capability because of the other strategy. So we hired agency to create the content using the AI. And it's hard to believe, but it's happened in some 3 months when I approached a different agency. There's still agency saying that, oh, we are not using AI. Oh, yes, okay, too. But some agency, they went way in advance. They asked, do you have a memory knowledge? Knowledge of memory to share. So they can shorten the time to crafting the contents in the line guardrails, which is quite beautiful work. So moving that down is they create great contents using the AI. My more concern is how can localize because I'm not only solving the English market. We have multiple market different languages. Usually, AI gets translation is easy part, but
Cultural translation. Yeah.
it's not that good enough.
Yeah.
We have to add up local market views and different
Everybody gets
regulations.
different problems, right?
So what can be possible now? Just amazing. Last time, okay, even translation itself it was so much of love. And now we are going way further.
I definitely feel like where certain clients in AMAX like is a real like bit cost. Some of the organisations that have brought up the States say they're like, yeah, we've got content, we've got music content, just is relevant to even interesting. Right? And that ability to version, personalise at scale is just
Right. So then even the content is not only for the one project, it's a particularized content. So whatever we kind of thinking that this is the theme of the content happened like 2 years ago. Now it's really extreme.
So from a client's perspective, especially deals we use in there, do you encourage your agency to use more AI, bring content, bring start replanning, etc. Do you consider that as now part of the workflow and what you think? Or do you consider that as looking at much less of a short notes? How do we model that?
Yes. Like using AI, how this and what I'm looking for is investing same resource, either budget, time, what I need to get you, and it's possible. So that's what I'm.
So screen efficiency is something that we're expecting more majority. So
speak efficiency in agencies. You're saying on the other side, it's not the agency side, but like, what's your view around?
Yeah, so I think you need to look into 3 things over here. So one is your content creation, that's your creative content, and how the customer So I agree with about this is we need to have a thinking about the distinction is distributed. Otherwise it will be in the sea of sameness or no. So I think once that is done properly, then we can then for the creative production part and the variants, the translate the local languages. And I think the consumption is something that we skill level. How what are the content is going out in the market, for example, your case study. So why it's such a long topic, good content. But at the same time now, with the speed that the market is now moving, we need to feed the information quickly. They would like to get the summaries of it. And that's where the AI come in. And again, the people are really important because they are the one who are going to really put those things in the back end of the AI platform to exactly know what the customers want to get. So I think it's all the 3 things
No, so again, like from some perspective, we know it's right because there's ways now our platform presents information. And I can tell you that very senior people love to hit summarize. And the next thing they'll actually is ask very specific questions. Can this tool solve my problems? Just really interesting. This is true self-direction by very senior minds.
in fact, I feel like that AI now, talking about consumption, kind of gives much more depth of information in terms of, earlier you talk about metrics like page views and page hits. Now you can actually figure out what is consuming, what is it, looking for, And that kind of insight is an doing our mission work from your experience.
I would just like to add one more thing. I think storytelling as a whole hasn't changed. Yes, consumption patterns have changed, but what has also changed is the distribution.
Yeah.
And I think I was reading eMarketer the other day. It's like it quoted like 34% of marketers, B2B marketers, they're finding prospects through AI search algorithms, right? So it's that universe of Substack, your own content, the YouTube and LinkedIn. So it's having that ecosystem, that distribution network is really important.
You are what you put is.
And from a B2B perspective, in terms of, prospects and, demand gen, I think that is really important.
I understand how you have to, when you think about this, there's trends. Yeah. I used to edit magazine, right? That magazine doesn't exist. Obviously, it was allowed by producers, right? And that was hard information. But that's still big magazines, right? And it's podcasts. There's a whole ecosystem of content language. You've got different modes, different times of the day. And if we as marketers want to reach our customers, we want to know what our customers are, and whatever we do, how long we create it has to be authentic, like they used to.
AI is picking it up, right? So the geo is really important.
And just to add on the part is that she put in the market, and there's something very similar we found out in our research. What right is that the trust is becoming the number one factor.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the distinction about how much effort you put into that thing they use and what content is very important. And then again, when you are putting the content out, as you mentioned, so many channels and platforms. This is even getting more fun because LLMs are looking.
Yeah.
So it's not just what content you're writing that needs to be strong, whether say that you are placing the content, LLM can pick it up and give a right view because AI is AI. It can pick up information which might be wrong. So you need to make sure that it's even on whether they invest more on what content and place it on the right channel.
Absolutely. Completely. That's what I said. Like you are what you put in, you're everything not fixed this. So like fix twice before you do something, before you if it is if you can't stand behind it, so we'll also have to down the talk into because that's if you are. So let's talk about data. That speaks that noisy world we live in. When I'm talking to our customers, I do get the sense in terms of the marketers have more data than they know what to do with. Like when you say you data me out, it's just noise. But now AI helps, right? I want to analyze behavior, identify patterns. Potentially, so what you were saying in terms of the ops, these on our platform, understand buyer intent in much deeper ways. The challenge is that more data does automatically need more clarity. So really interested actually from Dentsu perspective that how are you using AI data today? What signals at how do we avoid that? How is it scaling with that?
It's so when we work with that clients the past few days, we used to get this problem with a lot of data that they're sitting with data, but we don't know what we have to do about it. And so that problem is getting solved today now, please. But I think at the back end we still used to go back how what the data quality is. Their strategy on place, the data is clean, it's correct because AI will need there is on the problem with the ones with clear the data is not secure. So I think it's helping because we are working with our clients the first part with them how we can segment the data and the back end and how we then structure the data in a way understanding based on anything available, buying journeys, which industries, what kind of the buying groups as well, their ability to understand whom we are reaching out. And that's why it's AI is really helping us in segmenting those audiences and going through the first part of our plans and through that party thing, combining that together and generating campaigns. Which will be it generally helps in giving that clean slate for the client in terms of understanding whom they're reaching out because things are not just beyond from the vanity metrics to understanding which audience is engaging and which audience is actually communicating.
Yeah. So the using this really you can actually probably understand your own you have your access to the data. Junior grams I know.
So it's a little bit for you because we don't own the intended for the million amount of the first computer. Of course, I mean, we also connect third-party data. It's also used for the internal chat, but let's say focus on first-party data. So we collect the CRM data, then usually we use to have marketing approach of people, and we will approach that. Why will this report that report, and then they swap. Okay, you are in the number 20s, so wait for 2 days to get your report. Actually, I changed everything. Block that you cannot approach marketing of the report. You do your own report. Because it's all connected. Whatever data marketing is using, you also better. Every marketer, they can generate their own reports. Only approach marketing operation when you feel that but they do something wrong, then just approach them to clarify. The most happen is everyone struggle at first, and even the data was a little bit weird. Report was a little bit weird, but marketing operation they did a little bit of more experience. What field name they have to use to teach them one by one, and then suddenly even the new person never trained or AI just understood what they are looking for because everyone made the same mistake. Repeat because it's corporate account, so it's knowledge sharing between the team members. So now I mean the reporting get it way easier. Only next step. That's one of the big hurdle we want to launch it into the different data sources and then automate the workflow. That's about my stage is how we can make this thing really happen so that even marketer doesn't need to go. When I was considering about sale, just the process thing, by the way, these are this person looking for this contest, just try to
Do you feel challenged from your IT or the legal side of it, like if you're a user of those things?
Okay, first, I mean, the IT developer, I mean, who's the best developer these days? Person who can speak good language. I mean, normal, natural language, they are good developers. So means there's not much of developer have you need to build this. That's one thing. Second, bigger team, we purchase the data and we are using the first party data and all data sitting within the business. So there's no any legal issue until if we are using this data for the external marketing engagement.
What was it? Alright. Let's talk about data.
I feel that the term drowning in data doesn't really apply anymore because you're having AI curated data. I mean, for us, we work with a lot of technology clients. They're very data heavy, right? So it kind of does a couple of things, you know. You need to make sense of the data much faster than what we would have had otherwise, you know. So again, the compression for things, you know, it helps us to come up with better insights for both data.
Yeah.
And that is something which is extremely valuable for the client.
Yes.
And which we tie back to all our campaigns, you know. So, you know, you're talking from a place of, you know, facts.
Yeah.
Pro facts.
I think that's one of the we've been talking about it longer. It's it's not just
Yeah. Absolutely. I think context is everything.
So junior all the stuff probably not industry, but I do want to talk about guardrails, price, governance, risk. Because we didn't talk about that very much here. But because of that state of which AI is moving, like organisations really are having to learn how to deal with clients, legal implications, intellectual property, privacy, brand risk, actually, from my hallucination perspective. But Bhavesh, I'll come to you. It's like you know, how should organisations approach it? Start those around
So I think there are two aspects with it. One is the aspect of how your internal information and data and content is going to be utilized by the LLMs, and therefore how much it is going to get exposed to an external world. The second aspect of it is that what are the guidelines and brand guidelines and organizational guidelines that maintain and maintain without ensuring that legals are set. So I think at every company we should have their own guardrails and compliances. I would say outlines of theirs so that they can tackle with that and ensure like everything updates within it.
And you're starting a business like the AI is, but I guess you have to think about compliance guardrails around it.
Mhm. I think it's a very layered question because there's so many facets to it. Because it's not a easy area. It's not a black and white area because there are so many layers of gray. I've just like to talk about a personal experience that I've had while we were working on a giant project, which involved like some 100 pages of research, which had to be produced into a marketing collateral. Something about those numbers. And we used an LLM to kind of crunch those numbers. Some of those numbers, it's just like a gut feeling that felt a little off. So we went back to the LLM. It's like, can you just point us to which page and what chart it is? Uh, it led us on a wild goose chase with utmost confidence, right? And so like, okay, stop generating. I'll read it and I'll find that stat. Now, if we had relied on that thing, it could have become a reputational disaster, right? So talking about guardrails, I think that sense checking and trusting your gut is really important. That's and the other thing is that because LLMs are producing everything, it's very hard to kind of lay claim to what is yours and what is not. Like a friend of mine, he devised this AI tooling process for the finance industry. He went to a patent lawyer that I want to patent it. I said, like, if McKinsey comes with the same kind of, they'll also ask for a patent. Who does the patent belong to? So I think we are really walking on very uneven ground here, and there needs to be some kind of legislation. I think the EU Act is a global reference point in terms of the use of AI, and I think Europe is always way ahead. I think at some point businesses and governments have to pick this up because without it, I think it's like a bowling alley without lanes. No one can go anywhere.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting. Like sort of the guardrails perspective, like the need for human oversight. Because even like prompt engineering elements of right this. Now, I've had to learn is that I asked the element to find site sources for any function was part. They still have to check those.
That was the scary part, even with the citation. Yeah, it's because I went back to the parents and I saw that.
So you have to check, but then from an intellectual property perspective, it is difficult because you sort of tell what is an original idea or concept, but it's hard to put it in this stage. Again, like from an agency perspective, all these things are higher scale, right? Globally, especially, right? So compliance guardrails, they're in place.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And I think probably like when we start working with a client, I think that's one good thing that has happened. The clients are more open for us to use the AI platforms. So so there are, and I think clients are really open about using the AI platform. Again, they also have their guardrails. They need to communicate it globally. And of course, we have to go through the process before we do any implementation on our side. So I agree, like AI can be used to automate the process, but not automate the judgment. And I think that's where we need to recheck and everything to make sure that whatever you are presenting or you are delivering is completely correct. And I think also to kind of search on ChatGPT. ChatGPT always trying to give answers to what you feel like. You really have to give them the go that like in a way that they can answer in a more holistic way. So I think it's a great idea.
A lot of efficiencies of what they have to do.
Yeah, so there is again, I think, different level of work still that is, we have to decide what we are going to rely on AI as of today and what we don't want. So I think for us, still the first the first party research is still very full of work. That's where industry highly overburdened with our clients and we're doing that. Be it the sales involvement, be then for client data, anything, we have to go and do the first party research data to really get back and give them that kind of understanding.
Yeah.
So if it like we can use AI, which can help us, but again, I think we still have to find our data sources to make sure that whatever we blame that down.
Yeah. Junior, I want to talk about the future in a sec, but do you have anything else to add on clients and guardrails?
Yeah, so this is really interesting situation now. Back in without AI, you just just working with the agency, just sign an NDA and pass over some document. Then, okay, let's cut more. Now, okay, we have a huge knowledge already acquired in our own level. And can I give access to our full instance to the agency? Still no one can answer this. That's a big question, right? Because that shorten the time a lot with many things. But can I? No. And even we allow invite agents to use our AI. How we can make sure they use it for this our one only?
Yeah.
That's also question. So in answer to your question, probably there's many things we
Yeah.
Right.
We'll figure it out as we go.
Yes.
Well, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about as we go, right? So we'll talk a lot about what's happening right now, but let's finish with the future. What do you think B2B marketing will look like for the next few years? Is like a rock out? Is that like a smaller production?
Yes. I have a kind of very clear view on the B2C marketing, B2B marketing is growing. Yeah. And the Bhavesh mentioned also briefly, the senior people, they really asking very specific question and they want answer now. It never happened in B2B. So that means everyone expecting B2C type of experience fundamentally. How we can create because we always living in the weekly time. We have never worked in the daily or even immediate real time based marketing. So that's the someone we are as a 8 by 8, we are in the little bit better position. We are selling the CX solution for the B2C marketers. So we easily adapting those technology into the B2B market. So people can really connect through the WhatsApp to communicate with our B2B buyers. So that's a little bit better position, but I'm sure this is happening now and it won't be human answering. It's the AI answering. And our product really have a great. Sorry for that advertising, but it's an AI studio that actually designed for this kind of thing, not only for the B2C, but say for B2B. So that's the kind of change. So now we are looking at it 2-3 years, how markets are changing. It's no more the executing. It's more like operational kind of marketers. That's what I feel, at least in the brand side.
I love that clear view. I feel like I'm learning this from my. I wrote to that
Future, I think future is it sounds like a misnomer. Future is already yeah, but I think that contextual awareness is really important for marketers, especially in the B2B realm. And I think B2B typically had a longer sales cycle, right? Because I think that is becoming shorter because of this access to information. So as a marketer, it's very important to have that skill to read the room and to connect the dots, right? Because you have all this, ammunition, but are you able to make the puzzle? And I think that's a skill that marketers really need to have.
And we're using information.
So I think there's so many things coming out with AI. well, we never know what will happen in the next 3 months or 6 months or 8 months down the line. I think for me as an agency and when we serve our clients, I think it's very important for other marketers not just to ease through, like say our data. And I think just look into what really come and put the business in and work on those things rather than, looking up the noise right now. That becomes our responsibility as agency for our clients and what's most important for us. But and I think as other marketers, I think AI is still a tool again, as I mentioned, it's automated the process, not the judgment. So really, I think the human thinking still needs to be very much involved. That contextual knowledge is really important. Rather than just companies being solely relying on them here.
Yes, that's time for us. That's how it helps all problems out. Yes. That's a fantastic discussion. I really appreciate it. Before we finish, I'm going to quickly just work one more time. I'd like to hear one sort of final takeaway for each, just to make it as unfair as possible. But that should be first. So one final takeaway for the people watching today.
I feel in the era of AI, I think God's view is important. We should be followed. I think we follow it. That's a better one. I think that's not right. And I think speed is something that is going to be synonymous to AI, and I think we will do that as fast as it is. Do it quickly. Follow.
Okay, I think we can't mistake speed for strategy.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. And the thing is that AI is good at a lot of things. So use AI for what it is good at, but don't outsource your point of view.
90 cents just do it. And it's really AI. I mean, same thing. Is AI is perfect? Yes. Only that perfect is how we balance it. So just do it and then keep clarify. There will be one.
I feel like AI is not is helping it cutting down all the operational work for us. It is not removing humans. It's actually letting humans to focus actually more on a more strategy level of work. So if we think it that way, how it cut down our operation, help us with the speed and the scale, but let the humans to think more strategic.
Yeah.
That's what I think about. That's how the thinking should be.
No, really agree with all of those. It's great advice. Thank you so much. Thank you for a wonderful discussion. I'm really tuning in at Sandesh. We really appreciate your time today. And thank you to everybody who's watched and listened to this special roundtable discussion on the impact of AI and B2B marketing in 2026. So for Bhavesh, Matt, and our wonderful panel, all of Matt AI, thank you for joining us. And
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.